Hello! So finally I have finished my latest sewing project. A gathered skirt with front opening and pockets. Because pockets are just the best thing! This video is proof that even if you're a beginner, you can get a decent result, if you have a bit of patience. I can do it, and so do you. Let's go make a skirt. First of all, I measured my waist and also decide how long the skirt will be. In my case, the waist measurement is 78 centimeters and I want the skirt to fall a bit under my knees, so I'm going to make it about 70 centimeters long. I'm making a little sketch and I'm going to draw pieces I need to cut out. My fabric is 150 centimeters in width, so I'm drawing a folded piece of fabric there. I need two rectangles of length of 2 meters and width of 70 centimeters, and the leftover stripe on the fold will be used as waistband. My waistband will be 10 centimeters wide. I have cut about 90 centimeter long piece because I needed to take in account the ease, but also seam allowance and the closing flap. And it's always better to work with a bit longer waistband and later shorten it than have it short and then wear uncomfortable skirt with waist that is too small for you. And lastly, we will need to put together 2 pockets, so it's 4 pieces in total. So for this project I have chosen this delightful brushed 100% cotton poplin with fine hard print. This fabric is heaven. The first skirt I have ever made is from this material also, and it's like wearing a nice soft blanket. I've got 2.5 meters of this fabric. For this project we will need scissors, washable chalk or pencil, clips, pins, measuring tape, thread in desired color, and a sewing machine. Further on, we will find use for a pocket pattern. This is my regular pattern I used for all my skirts. And the interfacing for the waistband. It's the first time I'm actually using this. I intend to wear this skirt without a belt, and the bands on my other skirts tend to roll on my belly. This should help. Okay, so we start directly with the 2 rectangles, because I pressed wrong button on the camera in the beginning. Sorry. Choose the future front piece and cut it in half like this. Now the pockets. Draw and cut out 4 pieces. Keep in mind that 2 pieces are on one side and for the other 2 you need to flip the pattern. You need to pair them to have the right sides on the fabric together, as it will be the inside of the pocket in the final product, and the wrong sides will be hidden under the skirt. I hope this wasn't too confusing. Before pinning the skirt, draw marks where the pocket hole should start. I suspend them about 7 centimeters from the waist. And now I'm obviously confused. I haven't made any skirt for a while, and for that moment I completely forgot how to pin the pockets on the pieces. Plus I wanted the hearts on the front panel to go in opposite direction, and my brain just could not process that. So to help me to figure out, I've clipped the front part closed, and then I was able to pin the pockets correctly. And sew them on. Later we will align the side seam with this pocket seam. Now I need to pin the side seams and pockets and sew everything together. If you were wondering what kind of machine I have, It's FUF90 and I think it's from the 1960s. I could not find the exact year of release. I got it as a gift from my boyfriend's parents. It needed some maintenance, but otherwise it's a really good machine and sturdy. The outside is made out of cast iron and all inside parts are metal. So it's very heavy but also almost unbreakable, which is awesome. On the other hand, it does not have the fancy features you see in the machine nowadays. But frankly, if you're a beginner or just enjoy making your own clothes time from time, you don't really need more than the basics. Ouch! That went right under my nail. Look at my poo-poo. Now I'm trying for the very first time a serger. Obviously, it's a mess. Just look at that. This was probably the most frustrating part of the project. The machine is very fast and it's so difficult to control the speed. The pockets were the worst. And because I'm not used to the cutting option of this machine, I have even cut right into the first pocket and then I had to repair it by hand. I'm using serger here. But in the past I used to finish the seams with either a zigzag stitch or I folded the seam allowances into each other and sewn them down. So if you don't have a serger, you're just fine. Oh no, it slipped again. Right after making this skirt, I have made a pillowcase just to practice on the serger, and to be honest, it would have been much better idea to start with the pillow, not with the skirt. And now it's stuck completely. The machine started eating the threads. Fortunately, I could fix it with a pair of tweezers. And now I'm preparing the front opening. First I'm making a little hem by folding it only about 1 centimeter. I want the front to look super neat. Straight, no weird shifting, bulking, just perfect. To finish the hem on the opening of the skirt, I have chosen to do another fold. The width is 2.5 centimeters. My buttons are 2 centimeters wide, so they should sit perfectly in a row on top of the hem. I have measured it, drew the lines and pinned it down. I've pinned it horizontally to make sure the width stays 2.5 centimeters all the way. If pinned vertically, sometimes the fabric bunches up and moves a bit. Time to sew it down. I'm keeping as close to the inner fold as possible and I'm focusing really hard to sew nice and straight because this part is visible from the outside of the skirt. Then I have pinned my bottom hem off the camera. I went for 2 cm wide hem because I wanted it to stay flat and avoid the weird diagonal wrinkling that sometimes happens on the hems. Look at this beauty. This looks pretty neat for a noob like me. And let's make some pretty fluffy gathers. I recommend to take a thread that is quite sturdy, but if you don't have that, just take your regular one and be careful later not to pull too much. I'd recommend taking at least twice the length of your waist and adding 20 centimeters. Then double thread the needle and finish it with a knot. I'm pulling the thread through a block of wax to reinforce it, and this helps preventing the tangling too. The thread is less smooth this way, and some people may prefer to do this without the wax. I wouldn't use it for small gathers, like on sleeves, but from my experience it's easier to adjust the pleats on longer pieces like this with the wax. And now my favorite part, the gathers. I want the skirt full and fluffy, so I'm going for tiny delicate gathers. The length of my stitch here is about 3 mm, and because we're working here with 4 meters of fabric, it took me half of the evening to finish it. Now let's check the length around the waist, and also make sure the distance between the pockets and the opening is identical. Waistband. I have never used the interfacing before, so I tested it on small piece first. I needed to shorten it a bit on the sides. Here we have the waistband with the interfacing already ironed on and ready to be pinned down. Pinning the waistband, my personal nemesis. I recommend pinning not horizontally with the waistband, but vertically. And while doing that, keep checking and adjusting your pleats. If you mess up now, you might catch them in the waistband from the inside. If they refuse to cooperate, pin them horizontally along the waistband. It's pinned together. Let's check if it fits. The waist seems to be okay. The front aligns, the pockets are reachable. Once I made a mistake and one of the pockets is way too far in the back. Quite inconvenient, but I still wear that skirt. Okay, it's all good. Back to the machine. Please witness my waistband fail. As you can see, the waistband is starting to bunch up, no matter how much I'm trying to adjust it and feed it to the machine. The genius me thought it's a good idea to stop and restart from the same spot. Of course it did not work. So I had to thread these tiny tight stitches, then I pinned the waistband again and made the same mistake while sewing again, then more threading. In the end I stopped being lazy and wasting my time and hand stitched it first with long running stitch, which I'm going to remove later. Now that's the stuff. That's how waistband should sit, nice and flat. Alright, time to finish the closing part. Let's start with the flap. I want it to have triangular shape on the end. I hand sewn it with back stitches of the camera. Also, here is the first buttonhole I've ever made. It's very messy and it's quite small, so I will probably redo it in the future. And here's the second one. Much better, I'd say. If you want to learn how to sew the buttonholes, I have put a link to Bernardette Banner's awesome and detailed video in the description. I'm going to quickly show how I did mine. So I have cut with very sharp knife along the thread I've chosen. And then I proceeded stitching around the buttonhole. The quality is worse than the previous hole because due to the placement of my camera, I can barely see what I'm doing. I'm awaiting an arrival of a new little tripod any day, so in the future I can angle the camera better and do more close-up shots while hand stitching. In of the camera I have installed the hooks and eyes and also the heart-shaped buttons. I think the closure looks quite neat. And I love how the fine gathers behave on this fabric. And here is the final product. And awkward me frolicking in the forest, trying to figure out how to pose. It was a fun project, and the skirt is currently my new favorite thing in the wardrobe. The shape and the feel of it. Also the waistband really isn't rolling off my soft jelly belly, which is nice. If you watched all the way to this point, thank you so very much. You're awesome. And now excuse me please, I've got to go save the motherland.